Hi, Ann Cornick from Paintnporcelain. I'm here to teach beginners how to get started in China painting and recruit experienced painters to paint along with me. And today we're going to do something new. We're going to start on cherries, which I thought would be something that beginners could do very easily. Okay, so here we have a cherry plate that it's actually Betty Paulette that did this cherry plate. And it's one of my favorites. I was very fortunate to come across it recently, and I was able to purchase it. And normally I wouldn't have been able to, so I was thrilled when I found it. Look at her background. She has the most stunning background in cherries. And I believe this was at one time used as a study that she had available. So I was really excited when I got it. And another version of cherries that I have on hand as inspiration is from my good friend, Emily Wiley. And Emily did a workshop with us on these cherries. And can you see those bowls? That bowl looks real, doesn't it? Now she did the dark cherries on this. And so that's another example of cherries, just so you can see where I got my inspiration from. The way I get started on my cherries is I make a sketch. And I make a sketch originally from some pictures that I find on the internet just to get some ideas of how cherries cluster and what the leaves look like and everything. So I made my study. And this study has a few more cherries on it than the actual line drawing, because the line drawing is for beginners and I didn't want to make it a little too difficult for them. So I'm trying to pare it down a little. So we came up with a very simple line drawing that you can put on a tea towel. And if you get the line drawing and it's not the right size for the plate or what you're working on, you can simply enlarge it. You can download it to like a Word document or something like that and then just make it bigger, or however you do it on your machine. But you can make it bigger and make it fit your piece. So in order to transfer the line drawing to your piece, if you haven't watched before, we'll just give you a quick update. I use what's called Sorel transfer paper. I get it on blick.com, or I have a Dick Blick store right here in the neighborhood I can go to. This is red paper. They have gray. They have all kinds of colors. I don't think it makes a whole lot of difference, but it's wax free. It has a bright side and a dull side. You want the bright side down, tape it on your tile. Then you're going to put your line drawing over it and tape that on your tile. Make sure you trim the line drawing down so it's not too cumbersome, and way out there. You're trying to hold it down. You want to make sure you get it as flat as possible. And I don't know if you can tell, but on here I've used green pen in order to outline each of the areas so that if I got interrupted, I knew where I left off. Okay. So with that in mind, let me angle you down. You should know, though, we're going to be using a gray, a dark brown. If you have a chartreuse, which is a light yellow green, you can use that, or moss green. I use a black green and a shading green. Shading green has a little bit of blue in it, or like a turquoise in it. I'm also going to use egg, which I really like, as you know, for a yellow, because it doesn't eat into any of the reds that we're going to be using. We're going to be using yellow red and blood red. So I think it's important to have a yellow that doesn't eat into them. And you can use other yellows. I think we talked about it before. Mixing yellow and Albert yellow, though, tend to eat into the reds a little more. Okay, so here's my line drawing. And I'm going to start with the leaves, I think. I'm using a number 10 brush. I find that works the best for me with the leaves. And I'm going to load it with a chartreuse full load and a side load of, I think, shading green, just for something different to do. Now, one thing with these leaves that I had a problem with, and I don't know if you will too, but they're narrow at the base. And if you think about it, we do roses and other leaves like pansies and things like that we've done lately, and they're very fat at the base. But these are almost like a pecan, no, an almond. They are narrow at the top and narrow at the bottom. So you have to keep that in mind when you're painting them. Alrighty, so we're gonna do, you've got your chartreuse, your shading green. You can use a yellow brown, a warm brown green if you prefer. I'm just trying to give you something that's easily seen on here. And take the dark part where you loaded the dark and ride it along the center of that vein. Can you see the vein I've got there? I'm riding it right along the center there. I'm kind of doing those little, they're almost like little check mark strokes. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to start in the middle here. Get a little more on there. And I'm going to start, now I'm going to go up to the top and I'm going to put the dark into the center of that. And you can see that that really helps define the center of that leaf. Then I'm going to load again with the chartreuse and the shading green, and I'm just going to do my tip. And remember, if it doesn't turn out exactly the way you want it, you can go back into your paint and add more paint and get it more the way you'd like it. And then if you have any choppy little strokes like I do there, you can just feather it lightly. That will get rid of those choppy little strokes. Okay, this leaf up at the top has a turnover. Now, first coat, I know the colors, you think, the colors look a little odd. That's okay. This is a first coat. This is giving the light underneath. Later on, when you add the second coat, you'll be glad you have a little light color underneath. It'll make a big difference in the way your leaves look. So here again, I'm starting at the base, and then I come back up here to this side and bring a little color into the center. And now I'm going to put a little color around the edge. And because this is turned over, I'm going to put a little color there. Then I'll go and get some of the light green, the chartreuse, and just put a little on here. If I left it without a little color on there and I fired it, I'm not going to do the background on this fire. And I might want to put a little bit of a shadow at the base of that. If I left that, what I would end up with is just white, and I would forget what I was doing. So it's better to actually put some color there. Then if you need to go back, let's say you decide, this is just too dark. I want to know where it ends so that I know when I fire it. You can just go in and lift a little of that color off if you need to. I'm going to add just a tad more back because I think it could use it. Here we go. Okay. And over here, if you want to add a little highlight, you can wipe it out. So these are things that you can do that'll help you leave a little white now. Remember, if you don't leave the white now, you won't have it later. And then if it's too harsh for you, you just go back and add a little bit more color at the base there, or smooth it up. There you go. Okay. Now, if you're a new painter and you don't have all these fancy colors, you can use your moss green and your warm brown green if you have that. That'll work just fine. Now here, I'm working on the back leaf. We're going to put a little more dark back here because that's in shadow behind this leaf. So I'm adding the dark back here and just bringing it down lightly. Kind of doing a flat stroke in order to move that color down. And then I'm just going to take and do the same thing around the base here to the very end of the leaf. And I might just leave it like that. I kind of like, you see how I have the white up here? I kind of like that. So I think I'm just going to leave it that way for now. And if you want to, you can go back and just tap a few little veins in the leaf. And you could do the same thing up here. You could tap. And this cherry has veins on both sides, and they're fairly evenly matched across from each other. So if you do go back and do that on these, and it's just a tap, honestly, it's just a tap, you'll see if you have color on your brush, and not a whole lot of color, but just a little, it'll give you those fine little veins. There's the fine little veins for you. Okay, now we're going to work on the leaf that's on top. And as I said, remember, these leaves are thin at the bottom, thin at the top. They're more like an almond than they are like a leaf in a lot of ways. So this one, we're going to use our chartreuse. Well, I'll tell you what. Now this one's on top. Let me use the chartreuse and the shading green again. And then over here, I will use like a moss green and a brown green so you can see what the difference would be. So here I'm coming towards the base. I follow this line. So can you see the line on there? I follow that line down. And I'm doing short choppy strokes initially to get the color in that line. And I'll come back the same way. It just helps. And then I'm going to put a little color down this side here. And I'll turn the piece and I'll paint towards myself and bring a little color up this way here. Okay. And that's that leaf. Now on the next version, we will actually, I'm pulling the color out a little because I want it to be darker on that side. The next version of this, we will use darker colors that will really accentuate the leaves, I think, when you're starting out especially. And you can see they move much easier on the china, I think, than a lot of other colors. It just depends how fresh your paints are. If you find things aren't moving and you've done everything you can think of to get them to move, you may need to take them off and mix a new set of paints. And then with this leaf, after I do this side, I'm going to turn it this way. So this is, base of the leaf is facing me, and I'm going to do this side. These are just little flat strokes that I'm doing down to the base. And then I will come along the side and just even everything out. Leave some white. And that's what it would look like if you did it with, oh, I'm going to have to put some darker color over here, because this side, if the light is coming this way, this side of the leaf needs to be darker. So I'm going to go and add a little depth there. And if you wipe on your towel real well, you can come over and just lift some of the color from this side. And then that way you have the right side shaded, because you want this side shaded there because it's between the two leaves, this side shaded and this side shaded. I have two more leaves down here. Okay, I'm going to do these relatively quickly, and then we're going to get to the cherries. Now here I've got the turnover like I did up here, so I'm going to put the depth along the turnover. And I'm going to smooth it out because it's a little choppy there, like that. And I'm going to add a little light chartreuse to this turnover so that I see it when I fire, because if you don't, you won't have it there. And I'm going to do the same thing on this leaf here. I'm going to paint it in from the base, start at the base, and then I'm going to pull from the top to the center, and then I'm just going to put the little edge on it down here. And I'm going to take a little bit more dark, turn it around and put a little shadow on the bottom side of it. And that's it. Okay, my leaves are done. The next thing I'm going to do, I think, is probably do, if you can see the stem, it comes across here and down here. Pretty simple to do. I have a number 1 brush. It's a little thicker than a liner. If you have one, great. If not, you can use your liner. You're going to use a gray. And the reason I say a gray, I know it sounds odd, but here's a cherry branch. Look at it. It almost looks gray with some dots and bumps and things on it. So you're going to imitate that when you paint this. So we're going to start by taking our gray and just doing some short choppy strokes. This is very easy. You don't have to do anything but hold a brush and pull it to do this. Just do it on the whole branch. Very, very simple. Get both branches. Get the branch that comes down here. I'm sorry, am I holding it too low? Get the branch that comes here and here. Get this branch over here. Got a little green up there. I don't want the green up there. And bring it all the way across. We're just doing gray. Get the little bump out right here and down here. It can be chunky. You don't have to do anything too fancy. Now you're going to go into the darkest brown that you have. And you're going to start, and you're just going to kind of, oops, I got to get a little more brown in there. You're just going to start, and you're going to kind of jerkily outline that leaf. Sort of sketch it, okay? If you can see what I'm doing, I'm just sketching it. I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom. I'm just going to sketch it through. You can put little bumps. You saw how that other one, oops, I need more oil. You saw how that other one had bumps on it. You can do a little bump there, a little bump there. Your pen is going to fire off. You won't see that. So this is going to be your basic outline for your branch. You can be more exacting on it on the next fire. And you're going to put a couple little dark spots on the branch. You're going to flip the branch over and do the same thing on this side. Oops, let me get the light off of there. There. Now I know I can say it's easy. It's not that easy, but if you just have a couple little bumps and little things on there, it'll make it more interesting. This little piece down here and this here. There, ta-da. My branch is done for now. We'll make it beautiful later, but it's done for now. It does. Now we're going to do the cherries. I'm cleaning my brush, and this time I'm switching. I'm using a brush that is a 1/4 inch. It's an itty bitty one. All right, and I'm going to put it in egg, because I like egg. It mixes better with things like yellow red, and it doesn't eat the yellow red as much as some of the other colors will. And I put full load with the egg, side load with the yellow red, and I'm going to start in the background, and I'm just going to put, if you do it right, it's going to automatically give you that little shadow that you want. I use the egg only because I came across it. I really decided I liked it, but I don't go out and buy extra egg. I use what I have, and I would recommend the same for you, really. That works the best, I think. Okay, I've done these, and I'm going to do this one over here. Okay, and then I'm going to, these two here are in the shadow. So I'm not going to use as much egg, in fact, any. I'm going to use mostly my, oops, that's a little heavy, my yellow red, and I'm going to put the shadow on there. And I'm going to put the shadow down here at the base on this one. So I'm going to come up one side, and I'm going to come down the other here, like that, okay? Then using yellow red only, but it's side loaded, I'm going to flip my whole plate over, and I'm going to do the other side of the cherry, wherever it shows. Now, with the cherry, you're going to have to remember there's going to be a little highlight in the middle of it where the light hits it. Here, let me get a little more on here. And this one here is under that branch, so I need a little up there. Okay. And those are my cherries. Oops, almost. Hang on, one more. Okay. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but here, 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 I've left a little bit of light, a little bit of white. I'm going to clean my brush, and I'm going to put it into blood red side load only. The blood red is going to give me the depth. Let me show you. Start with the main one here. I want it on the bottom, and since my light is coming this way, I also want it coming up the right-hand side. I'm using a C-stroke. It's like this, just so you can see it. I'm using a big C-stroke. Oops, sorry. A big C-stroke, like that. That's what I'm putting on my cherries. Here, I'm going to put the blood red here. I'm also going to put it under this leaf. Oh, way too dark. Wipe it off if it's way too dark. That leaf right there. But I'm leaving the center with a little bit of a highlight. Side load of blood red, and I'm doing it on the bottom here. And then because this cherry's in the background, I'm also going to do it here. And I think I'm just going to leave it like that. Up here, I'm going to do it there, a little there. And again, I'm going to do the bottom. Bottom around to that side. Oops. And you may have to smooth it a little. Sometimes you get carried away. This, I'm going to do the bottom and this side. And I'm going to do just this side on this one. There you go. Now you see these divots I have in there on a couple of them. I'm going to also put a little bit of my blood red in those divots right now. I'm going to put it right here in this divot, and in this divot, and in this divot. And then I'm just going to kind of brush it around so that it's not, there we go. Okay, does that help? Now the final thing I'm going to do is take my Paintnporcelain. Love to Paintnporcelain. And where these two come together, I'm just going to put a slight line around there. And then I'm going to do one down here between these two. Oh, I'm sorry. Here between these two. And maybe over here a little bit. And I'm going to take my brush. Make sure it's clean because I haven't used this brush in a while. And I'm going to just go through and make sure that it's not too much of a line. See, right now it's kind of a line there. I'm just going to make sure it's not too much of a line. Just clean up the line a tad. I'm going to, let me clean this real well. I'm going to do there. There. I'm putting in my highlights. I'm sorry if I'm getting in the light up there. There. Just wiping out highlights. There. There'd be a highlight kind of here. Or maybe one down here. And then I'm going to smooth them. So they aren't so obvious. Okay, So that's the cherry first fire. It's pretty simple, I think. And we're not going to, we didn't do a whole lot on a lot of the branches or anything. You can play with it a little bit if you think, this needs to come down. Be careful. If you do play, and it just happened to me, so I want to make sure you know. If you do go back and decide, oh, this needs to be adjusted and that needs to be adjusted. Remember, your paint is likely to build up and dry up a little bit because most of the medium that we use has a little bit of a drying element in it. And so if it sits up for too long, it's going to be very difficult for you to move without getting a line. So this is the first fire on the cherries. And when I fire it, it will look more like this, and then we'll do the second fire. So I hope you enjoyed watching. I hope you got a lot out of it. Remind you that I'm going to have the series on YouTube that is strictly for beginners, and it will be under the playlists, and it's called Learn China Painting, and it will have the wild rose plate that I did, and you can get, oops, let me turn it this way, and you can get the free study to go along with it off of my website. And you can follow along on YouTube. So I will put the links at the end of this now, and thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Hi, I hope you enjoyed the program, and I hope that you will watch future programs by liking and subscribing to my page. If you do subscribe, I would really appreciate it so that other people who have a similar interest will be able to see more of this kind of programming. I have studies available at my website along with products. If you're interested in finding out more about those, please look at the description box below. Thank you.